Will you pray with me, please? Holy and loving God, we crave your presence and we crave your word. I ask that in the word that I speak tonight, that your word be present, that your spirit be present, that your presence touch us so that whatever it is that we need to hear, that we hear that. Take the words of my mouth, Lord, and turn them into whatever it is that's needed to be heard. Be that spirit that opens our hearts and our minds to you and whatever you would touch us with. We ask this, Jesus, in your holy name. Amen. So, if you are unfamiliar with my strange sense of humour, then be prepared. And please don't take today's message too seriously, or at least not the first half. I always wondered why in Matthew 8:22, when someone asked leave to go and bury their father, that Jesus refused, suggesting that the dead should bury the dead. And perhaps he was talking about the spiritually dead. Or perhaps he was using hyperbole to show how important the gospel message was. Or perhaps Jesus was using a popular saying like maybe you should call it a day, or actions speak louder than words. Maybe it was a saying, let the dead bury their dead. Who knows? Or perhaps we're missing the obvious. Perhaps the reason why Jesus said the dead should bury the dead was because in first century Palestine there was an unspeakable secret, a plague of such horror that even most of the history books blotted out. Maybe there were zombies. And when we look at the historical accounts that have been made into films, we see how this little problem has plagued humanity for generation upon generation. Are you okay there? So, for example, The Mummy. In that film, we find that even in ancient Egypt, the dead would not stay dead. The film Zombies versus Gladiators. Apparently, Rome's biggest problem was fighting people who just would not die. Night of the Dead, as in Knights of the Round Table. Apparently, the plague that swept Europe in the Middle Ages was actually a zombie plague. We got rid of most of them by rounding them up in London, and then in 1666 we torched the place. I mean, who knew? Egad Zombies, which was set in the 1700s, reminds us that there was still a problem 100 years later. And then in Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies, we see how they were responsible for the American Civil War. And then in Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, we see how even the Bronte sisters had to deal with them from time to time. The Diary of Anne Frank of the Dead reminds us of the Nazi zombies. And Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead, shows us that even chickens are not safe. And even my favourite here, Scooby-Doo, had to battle this great evil in Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. You have a lot to answer for, don't you? And when we look closer, the Bible is full of zombies. Zechariah 14:12, this shall be the plague with which the Lord shall strike all the peoples that wage war against Jerusalem. Their flesh will rot while they're standing on their feet. Their eyes will rot in their sockets, and their tongues will rot in their mouths. Zombies. Jeremiah 19:9, and I will make them eat the flesh of their sons and daughters, and everyone shall eat the flesh of their neighbour. Zombies. Isaiah 9:20, they slice meat on the right, but are still hungry, and they devour on the left, but are not satisfied. Each devours the flesh of his own arm. Zombies. Isaiah 26:19-20, your dead shall live, their corpses shall rise. O dwellers in the dust, the earth give birth to those long dead. Then it comes with a warning. Come, my people, enter your chambers and shut your doors behind you. Hide yourselves for a little while until the wrath is past. I think he's suggesting that we hide until the zombies have gone. That's good advice, Isaiah. Matthew 27. The tombs were opened, many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised, and after his resurrection they came out of the tombs and entered the holy city and appeared to many. Zombies, you see. Revelation 9:6, and in those days people will seek death but will not find it. They will long to die, but death will flee from them. It's what happens when you become a zombie. You know, various websites ask the question, what should a Christian do in the event of a zombie apocalypse? I mean, should you try and convert zombies to Christianity, or do you grab a farmer's shotgun and fill it full of holes? Well, one site suggests that in the event of a zombie apocalypse, you need three things: a Bible, a sword, and lots of protein bars. Yeah, I'm not sure they'd be my top three, but never mind. I suppose the million-dollar question is this: are there really such things as zombies? And the answer is yes, although not the kind you see in the movies. You know, as a rule, and I really hate to disappoint you here, zombies don't eat brains, and neither is it a virus that gets transmitted once you're bitten by one. Zombies were first scientifically documented in Haiti in the 1930s. It's a black magic voodoo technique when someone is given the poison of a pufferfish, which simulates death. They're laid to rest in a mausoleum or in an above-ground grave, and the following day, the witch doctor retrieves the body, gives an antidote along with hallucinogens and other psychotropic drugs. The person revives, but is made to believe that they're dead. And every day they're given this psychotropic drug cocktail in their food. It's made from frog skin and spider venom, amongst other equally unpleasant things. And the witch doctor creates the illusion for them that they're dead. Of course, they're not really dead. But if you think you're dead, then the world is a very different place and you're easily controlled. Zombies are people who are controlled by others because they believe without question what they're told. The drugs create a constant dream state, which is useful to the witch doctor because you don't tend to question things in dreams. Now, sometimes things go wrong. Brain damage occurs and the zombie never recovers. And in other cases, if they manage to get away, the drugs wear off, they remember who they are and they go home. There are documented cases of people being tried for creating zombies. In fact, in 1883, there was a law passed which recognized that the practice of creating a zombie was the same as murder. And people were tried as murderers. Now, when you think about it, it's quite easy to be a zombie and not even know it. If we believe something without question, then we're acting like a zombie. If we never question our assumptions, then maybe we're a zombie. If we let someone else make all our decisions for us in some way, then, or to tell us who we are, then perhaps we are a zombie. It's a lot more common than you might think, and I think there are times when we all have a little zombie in us. You know, when I first came out, I couldn't see the point of pride. All those people strutting their stuff, wearing costumes, stuff they'd never wear to the office. And look at the news, they always capture the most outrageous costumes. And I remember thinking, this was back in the 80s, that's not what gay is, that's not me. As if I had the right to define for anybody else who they were. But then one day, in the late 80s, I joined a pride parade and I had an epiphany. I suddenly realized that the religion I'd grown up with had made me believe that this, being gay, was an abomination, shameful, wrong. I'd been taught that it was shameful to be gay, that it was something that you should hide. Talk about internalized homophobia. But when I sat and thought about it, what I really thought, was that being gay wasn't something I should hide. In fact, quite the opposite. Suddenly I realized that dressing up for pride wasn't an abomination or shameful or wrong. It was absolutely fabulous. I'm just like every other person walking in a pride parade. From the rent boy who's pole dancing to the choir member singing their heart out. From the woman on a Harley motorbike to the girls with their children walking with families together. Whether gay, lesbian, trans, bi, any other rainbow hue, I'm absolutely no different. Because I dare to say that I refuse to be anyone's zombie, just like them. I refuse to be spoon-fed anybody's nonsense. I'm very much alive and I refuse to play dead. I can make my own mind up. I will not be ashamed or afraid. In fact, I'm proud, very proud, and I get it now. You know, maybe Jesus didn't say, I've come to save the zombies, but he did say, I've been sent to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free, which sounds like much the same thing to me. Jesus sets us free to see the glory of an extraordinarily diverse universe and to be proud. Rita Mae Brown said, I think gay people are like blondes. There's fewer of them, but they have more fun. She also said, if you can't raise consciousness, then at least raise hell. Plato said, we can easily forgive a child who's afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when adults are afraid of the light. You know, sometimes I think that zombies are simply people who've been taught to be afraid of their own light. The question is there a part of me that's afraid of my own light? Marianne Williamson said, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Of course, what she's saying isn't new. 2,000 years ago, Jesus said, don't hide your light under a basket. Proclaim your truth from the rooftops. Speak your truth. So be proud. And if you can't march in a real parade this year, take part in a virtual one. There are still lots of zombies in the world that need liberating. And who knows, just being you, just being a single human being who refuses to live as a zombie, you might be just the person to do it. Amen.